more than that this year, add on corporate buying and government buying. There is just too much demand. I don't think anything stops the train. We feel more confident about that $200,000 prediction today than we made it in December of 2024.
That being said, where Bitcoin is now a bit range bound, we've seen between 100 and 105,000. What's going on?
Yeah, so there are select number of sellers who have been willing to sell around the $100,000 point. Why? Because people are human. Some of that selling has come from FTX, some of it has come from Mt. Gox distributions, but we think that is running out of supply. Once we break loose of the $100,000 sort of range bound, I think it's blue skies ahead. I think we go to the next behavioral stopping point, which may be 150. Maybe we have to work through that, and then I think we end the year above 200K. You all have done TF and not do it directly, but it's not a game changer. The game changer for ETH is the change in the Ethereum foundation. The game changer is the success of the Pectra upgrade. The game changer is maybe stablecoin and market structure regulation. I would look to those things more than I would the addition of staking if you want to see ETH ETFs go to tens of billions of dollars.
Right, and do you think people are starting to knit together the use cases of DeFi and what ETH is trying to do? Maybe the stablecoin legislation is a pivot point there, or are people starting to get that? Because the Bitcoin story is pretty locked in.
The global uncertainty around trade, and that spooked markets earlier in April, but now they seem to be rebounding, as well as what the Fed might do and what U.S. Commerce Secretary Scott Bessent might be doing with the Treasury buybacks. What are you looking at?
Yeah, the best thing that can happen from a macro perspective is us not talking about it and not worrying about it. I mean, the crypto-specific drivers are so positive right now. I think we would be much higher today if we hadn't gone through this crazy V-shaped macro thing. It distracted all of us from the fundamentals being so strong in crypto. So I'm hoping we've entered this more new normal period where the tariff discussions aren't as volatile, where interest rates, maybe we go down 25 or 50 basis points, but decouple from stocks this time when it hadn't in the past, because all of a sudden traditional investors could use it for what it's built for, which is a hedging tool. So I think that's an indication of where we'll be in the future. I think the correlations are going to go down over time and not up. But again, you know, the story on Bitcoin is a demand story of institutions moving hundreds of billions of dollars into this asset, and macro is sort of on the sideline.
Yep, and you're talking to them. Thanks for the update, Matt.
Thank you for having me.
Moves rates down and the asset goes up as a result of the extra liquidity. That's a macro asset. A smaller asset will not move based on shifts in liquidity, but larger assets do. So I think 5, 6, 7 years ago, I would not have said Bitcoin was a macro asset. I think today that it is.
Adam, are you surprised that Bitcoin has made it to macro asset status?
Well, I think it's still early, and I think Bitcoin is undervalued. So I think I'm constantly surprised that it's as low as it is with the backdrop. But yeah, clearly institutions have difficulty investing in a small asset. They need to deploy.
It would be an asset that we would, buy or sell. But I don't think that's what makes it really attractive, right? It's the fact that over a long period of time, your purchasing power is going to be maintained. You're not going to get debased against any asset, let's say, that you're holding in the fiat world. And that can be real estate, bonds, stocks, whatever. If the dollar is the denominator or a fiat currency is the denominator, Bitcoin from the gold space. One of the few guys that's actually, super pro gold and pro Bitcoin. And from the physical gold space.
Nobody pays with gold today, but it is still widely owned.
We won't talk about gold today. But the bottom line is, I really have always believed in that physical ownership, that the individual has the right and should be able to own his own asset. And so I started this physical gold business years ago in 09 and 10. And it's an idea about being able to secure your own wealth and to have something that can preserve your purchasing power. Now, I wish, of course, a lot of people in the traditional world are still really nowhere, which might be a surprise for people in the audience to hear.
What do they need to get there?
I don't know, $1 million on the price, or 500,000 or whatever the number is. I don't know. It takes some doing, actually, to understand things. I mean, if you even trying to understand the white paper is a complex thing. So I don't want to, fault the smart guys. It's a hard thing to learn and understand, especially if you've had tremendous success already in the old world. You don't have a motivation. But I think to list here on NASDAQ and NYSE. And so one of our companies, eToro, had a successful IPO last week. We had another company a few weeks ago, Deribit, purchased by Coinbase. Circle, another company we've invested in. And I think there are going to be quite a few more. For many, I would say larger American institutional investors, they want to own an operating business that has an income statement, balance sheet, looks like other companies. And I think there are plenty of them. I mean, Galaxy, of course, now has just become public. So these larger groups, they work via consensus, and you have an investment committee, and something gets proposed, and you just need one or two people to say they have some doubt. I think that is part of the resistance. And also, look, the reality is the volatility is not going away. And I think most larger investors, even if they have a multiple return over some period of time, if there's a year where the asset goes down 60 to 70%, that person is potentially fired. And it's very hard, for instance, for a Canadian pension to own, let's say, Bitcoin directly, and then all of a sudden it hits the newspaper that, oh, they own Bitcoin. It may be up 10x, but in the year that it's down, that's when it gets all the press. So I still think that
investors, and Adam reminded me that Hal Finney said on the second day of Bitcoin that the target market was 200 trillion. That was actually pretty good, an estimate for day 2 of all of Bitcoin.
That's 100x from here, guys. Before we wrap, Dan, let's go down the line here. Dan Moorhead, I'm going to pick an arbitrary date. Let's call it 5 years from now. What is the price of Bitcoin, Dan?
750,000.
That's close to me. I was thinking in 10 years we're at 1 million. So that's my...
Split the difference there. Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, a million easy.
Is there... Love that. And lastly, what should people in the audience, maybe just a couple words, take back, and what should they tell?
The retail investors were first, and they front ran it all by years already.
You heard it from Adam Back. We are still early. Thank you, Adam Back from Blockstream, Dan Tapiero from 10T and 1RT, and Dan Moorhead from Pantera. I'm Alex Thorne from Vibes Capital Management. Keep those vibes up.
Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Support the channel by liking this video, subscribing, and enabling post notifications for more content on crypto and digital assets. Check out our other videos and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your engagement helps with the YouTube algorithm and keeps the content coming. Thanks for your support. Enjoy the video.